Hey everybody, this is Final Flame Productions back with another Terminator Dark Fate video. Today, I thought I was done with the John Connor Terminator Dark Fate controversy, scandal, whatever you want to call it. But a new video, well, it's not that new. I think it's been out a month or a little bit more. It's Tim Miller and the visual effects guys that worked on Terminator Dark Fate talking about the John Connor, the young John Connor and the young Sarah Connor recreation scene in Terminator Dark Fate. But I just want to, I'll just park it here. The effects in that scene are great, so I've nothing against those visual effects guys. But the opening of this video, it's a special effects kind of behind the scenes video. Tim Miller again makes an attack on John Connor. I'll just let you hear it here.
Pretty much everybody in the writer's room thought that the idea of John Connor had been explored quite thoroughly, which is an opportunity because for me it was always about Sarah. You know, John was just a kid with some potential, but I was more interested in the mother fighting for her child than I was in what the potential of the child could be. But in order to make way for this new future, you kind of have to be done with John. So what's the most dramatic and powerful way you can do that? It led inevitably to us clearing the board in that first scene, and it's pretty traumatic, and I think it really slaps the audience in the face and says, wake up, there's something new about to happen.
Pretty incredible stuff. I mean, it's not once, not twice. I don't know how many times Tim Miller has had a go at the character of John Connor. In the past, he's made fun of the thumbs up scene from T2. He thought it was nonsense. Anything to do with John Connor, this guy seems to hate. He says all the people in the creative room, the writers, agreed that John had been explored thoroughly. That's 6 writers. So we can't just only blame Tim Miller. We blame James Cameron and whoever the other writers were. All of these guys believe that John Connor had been explored thoroughly, which is pure nonsense. This is supposed to ignore all the other sequels. So if you had John Connor in T3, if you had John Connor in Salvation and in Genesis, they did say from the outset that they were ignoring all the sequels. So anything explored in those movies is completely irrelevant. If we are to believe what James Cameron and Tim Miller said, they said that they were making a sequel to T2. So John Connor has not been explored at all. John Connor wasn't in T1, and in T2 he was simply the kid who was going to become this great leader. So Tim Miller says that the writers all agreed that John had been explored thoroughly, which is just complete nonsense, and just it's really insane that he comes out with this stuff and that he believes that it was all right. And he came out with this long before this video. He said multiple times that he didn't want John Connor in the movie because he thought it would be too distracting, because much like Kathleen Kennedy in Star Wars, she didn't want Luke Skywalker because she thought it'd be distracting to the new characters that they were bringing in. Extreme slap in the face. He actually says that this scene of killing John Connor, it slaps the audience in the face and says that something new is going to happen. He is right there for once. It is a slap in the audience face. But like he goes on to say, he thought that it was always about Sarah, the Terminator franchise. I mean, that's arguable. Who do you think the Terminator franchise is about? For me, character-wise, it was always Sarah and John. That Sarah and John are the most important characters of the story. But the Terminator franchise is all about Arnold for me. Like, he is the Terminator. He has been in pretty much every Terminator movie. He has been in every Terminator movie in some capacity. Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Terminator franchise, and he got relegated to a side role in this movie as well. So he continues on to say, John was just a kid with some potential. So read that again. John was just a kid with some potential. The thing that Tim Miller doesn't understand, that if the story was all about Sarah and what she's trying to do and what she her role in the franchise, the thing she strives to do is protect her son. If you disregard her son and you disregard what she was trying to do in the first 2 movies, it completely diminishes her character, and that's what you've seen in Terminator Dark Fate. Her character was a pale comparison to what we've seen in T1 and T2. She was just this kind of one-note grumbling woman that didn't share any of the the qualities that we know and love from the first two movies. So he says, I was more interested in a mother fighting for a child than the potential of that child. You know, to disregard what Tim Miller and the people that were creating Terminator Dark Fate wanted to do was to diminish the character of John Connor and try to suggest that he was just this kind of dopey sort of kind of plot device character that wasn't really important. Anybody that looks back at T2, John Connor was this really well written and had so much personality. He was a real character. This isn't just some kind of it's not like in the first movie where we just hear about John Connor. And fair enough, if that's all that we ever knew about John Connor, that we never even seen John Connor, like in T1 and in T2 they sort of disposed of him, you could kind of accept that. But in T2 the audiences knew and loved John Connor and got to know him. Sure, some people think he was kind of annoying, and that's kind of what they were going for. But he was definitely a character. I mean, you look at the Natalia Reyes character, or the Danny Ramos character. You try to compare those two. She has absolutely no personality compared to Edward Furlong's John Connor, and that shows up Tim Miller even more so, that the character they used to replace John Connor was even less interesting, and I don't think anybody would want to see her character fleshed out because it was just completely bland and boring, and her acting wasn't very good at all. So he's another great quote here that it really pisses me off. He goes, "You have to be done with John." That's the attitude that these guys had when they made this movie. Just get rid of him, get rid of John. You know, why not just get rid of Sarah? Why not just get rid of Arnold? Why don't you just scrap the whole thing? And that's probably what they should have done. But you know, Tim Miller isn't the only guy. There's James Cameron. There's all these other writers. I've made quite a few videos on this, but I hadn't seen this video before, and just the quotes are just from Tim Miller are extremely grating, and I hate to write off all the people who worked on the movie, but I'm glad that the movie flopped, because the way they treated the character of John, the character of Arnold, even Sarah, they just made a complete mess of it. What do you think? The Tim Miller attacking John Connor saga continues. I'm not surprised, but I'm still pissed off. Thanks for watching.